Villains. We all love them, and I mean, without them there aren't any stories. But which are the most powerful street level villains that maybe shouldn't really be considered street level? That's what we're exploring today. Let's do it. In at 10, Mr. Negative. I always feel weird giving people with superpowers like the street level moniker, just because, well, you know, they have superpowers, and street level in my eyes would be those without powers who are just like martial artists, like Green Arrow, Batman, Daredevil, since his power is just more advanced Superman glasses. But I think that like street level villains are actually, at least for Marvel standards, are based on their intentions, not their abilities, because Spider-Man has to hold back his strength when fighting, but he still fights the street crime of New York. And that's where Mr. Negative comes from. At the outset of his rise, Martin Lee, also known as Mr. Negative, seized control of the White Dragons gang and absorbed the Snakeheads into his organization. Despite portraying himself as a benevolent philanthropist running the Feast Soup Kitchen where May Parker volunteers, Martin Lee concealed his true identity as the Chinatown crime lord Mr. Negative. Despite his criminal activities, Lee maintained a facade of kindness and generosity. Spider-Man first encountered Mr. Negative when he sought to dominate New York's criminal underground by eliminating members of the Carnelli and Maggia crime families using a bioweapon known as Devil's Breath, which is like the whole plot of Spider-Man PS4, which is still a great game that came out on my birthday, so hell yeah. 10 out of 10, do recommend. In at 9, Bullseye. Bullseye is a mysterious mercenary who shrouds his past in uncertainty. During an interrogation in a high security prison, he revealed some details about his early life, including an incident where his brother supposedly tried to kill their father by setting their house on fire. However, Bullseye's escape following this revelation and his taunting of the interrogators does cast doubt on the actual authenticity of those words. He admitted that he had lied, confessing that he was the one who set the house on fire, not his brother, but in another account of his childhood, he recounted a chilling act of violence where his father was drunk and unconscious. Bullseye painted a bullseye on his forehead and then shot him, which kind of gives him his whole thing later, which is kind of messed up. Actually, it's incredibly messed up. But yeah, there's conflicting stories and dark actions on either side, but yeah, he's Daredevil's villain, and he's just the dude who has good aim. I'm pretty sure. I don't think he has any superpowers. I could be wrong, but yeah, that's Bullseye for you. Whose name is also Lester, which is just. I get why he goes by Bullseye. When I hear Lester, I think the dude from GTA 5. And that is not a scary dude. In at 8, Typhoid Mary. Mary's traumatic experiences led to the emergence of her second persona. Endowed with latent mutant abilities encompassing mind control, telepathy, and pyrokinesis. Subsequently, she found herself confined in a mental institution, diagnosed with dissociative identity disorder. While the true origin of her powers remains a mystery, as a child, Mary exhibited a sweet and cooperative nature, but suffered from illness and epilepsy, unaware of her contrasting alter ego, Typhoid, named after her constant fever. Typhoid eventually escaped the facility, taking Mary along because, you know, they're one person, and she embarked on an acting career that soared to fame before abruptly vanishing, believed to be caused by Typhoid's actions, which derailed her success. During her time as an actress, she encountered Matt Murdock prior to his transformation into Daredevil. When he targeted a criminal in the brothel where Mary worked, operating under the employ of Kingpin, she frequently clashed with Daredevil and formed a complex romantic relationship with Matt Murdock, which is just a whole it's multiple layers of weird. That's like Felicia Hardy and Peter Parker dating, but then also fighting each other as Black Cat and Spider-Man, which I guess does happen at one point, but like, you know what I mean. It's still weird. And at 7, Tombstone. Lonnie Lincoln, born and raised in Harlem, New York City, faced a childhood of isolation due to his albinism and speech impediment. His pale skin and whispered voice made him an outcast, except for Joe Robertson, an aspiring journalist who Lonnie mistakenly believed to be his friend. Seeking validation, Lonnie turned to intense exercise and transformed into a school bully, using his size and strength to intimidate and extort money from his peers, earning him the moniker of Tombstone. I don't know why they're giving you the nickname of Tombstone in high school, but whatever. However, when Lonnie discovered that Robertson was investigating and planning to expose his activities in the school newspaper, he felt betrayed and violently attacked him, attempting to coerce him into abandoning the story. But yeah, no, it didn't. And then he becomes a criminal mastermind. There's a story for you. Yeah, don't bully people so that they then turn into bullies and then become criminal masterminds who are like, you really can't punch otherwise you'll break your hand unless you're Spider-Man. And at 6, Yelena Belova. Yelena Belova, a skilled super spy molded to surpass her idol Black Widow, Natasha Romanoff in the Red Room Academy, faced a harsh lesson from Romanoff herself, revealing the dark reality of being a spy devoid of glory or heroism. This experience led Belova to break away from her masters and forge her own path, and initially while working as a corrupt SHIELD agent, Belova suffered grave injuries in the Savage Land and was transformed into a super adaptoid by AIM, in return for attacking the Avengers. That's where the whole evil thing comes in. That's where she's the villain. She remained involved with AIM after this, even serving as the Minister of State in Barbuda. Ultimately, Belova met her demise in a conflict between AIM and SHIELD's Avengers, but the Red Room, known for cloning its prominent agents like Romanoff and Belova, had their operations disrupted by Romanoff, but still managed to fully restore Belova to life through a clone infused with her memories. I don't know how they got her memories if she was dead, but that's aside the point. I'm not going to question it, it's comics. So, reclaiming control over her life, Belova then became an ally to Romanoff and the Avengers, adopting the persona of a White Widow and taking on the responsibility of training young female spies to empower them with self-defense. So I guess, like, the White Room, or the Blue Room? I don't know, what's the opposite of red? Halfway through into number 5, Hammerhead. As a young boy, Joseph and his family escaped the Soviet Union with the assistance of a man known as the General. However, his childhood was marred by his father, who punished him for speaking Italian and subjected him to relentless hammerings, if you understand what I'm saying. Joseph's attempts to conceal his true Russian identity were exposed by a bully named Rico at school, who not only revealed his lie but also took away his hat, exposing the scars on his forehead. Seeking acceptance in the mob, Joseph, now known as Hammerhead, killed Rico and his girlfriend, successfully convincing the mob that he was Italian. After a severe head injury in a brawl, Hammerhead's shattered skull was replaced with a steel one by Jonas Harrow, upping the ante of his existing mental and emotional issues. Upon waking, Hammerhead fixated on a 1920s movie poster, adopting the persona of a mobster from that era, complete with clothing, weaponry, speech patterns, and behavior. In this new identity, he disavowed his real name, claiming to have no recollection of it, and just became Hammerhead. But I mean, given your origin of Hammerhead, yikes, that's dark. That's a dark way to get a name. Man, me oh my, it's hammer time. And at 4, Punisher. He's known for his violent methods and his high-tech weapons, including his battle van. It's Frank Castle. He works with Chip, who monitors him through a computer, and his iconic symbol is a large white skull in the middle of his chest. Punisher went to New York City thinking that Spider-Man was behind a string of attacks at Empire State University, in the 90s animated series at least, which is my favorite version. Later he would be convinced of this when Spider-Man mutated into Man-Spider. He was later captured and taken to a parked garage at the World Trade Center by Kraven the Hunter and Mariah Crawford. With their powers combined, they cured Spider-Man and actually returned him to being Spider-Man. Punisher later returned and thought that Peter Parker was the Green Goblin and that he had kidnapped Mary Jane Watson, but that wasn't the case, obviously. And then he captured Harry Osborn, but wanted to know what Peter knew about Mary Jane's disappearance, but ironically, he knew about it, but he couldn't because he was Spider-Man and not the Green Goblin, but yeah. Then Mary Jane's clone appears and Punisher lets Peter go. So yeah, it was a whole whirlwind, but I like that version of Frank Castle. But yeah, there you go. And at 3, Winter Soldier. James Buchanan Bucky Barnes, initially an American soldier, experienced a significant transformation in his life when he was recruited into the US Army during World War II. Serving alongside his best friend Captain America and the invaders, they played a crucial role in securing victory for the Allies. However, Bucky was presumed dead near the war's end, only to resurface as the brainwashed Winter Soldier, carrying out covert operations and committing ruthless assassinations under the control of the Soviets, particularly Vasily Karpov. For several decades he operated under this role until his memories were restored, prompting him to assume the mantle of Captain America following Steve Rogers' apparent demise, while also becoming a member of the Avengers. However, when Steve returned, Bucky resumed his identity as the Winter Soldier once again, returning to his complex and multifaceted journey, which is different from the version in the MCU, but hey, there you go. That's just one of the things they had to change for the MCU, because I mean, making a random Winter Soldier Soviet wouldn't make sense in the context of that universe. So yeah, they were like, yeah, let's make him Hydra. Penultimately, in number 2, Venom. Again, someone else that I don't think should be street level, but here we go. During the rule of the Dark Elder God Null, the origins of the symbiote that would later become known as Venom remain largely obscured. Its history prior to arriving on Battleworld is muddled, as its memories have been repeatedly erased, modified, and tampered with, but some sources suggest that it may be the first symbiote created by Null, while others claim it to be the 998th in its lineage. Cast out by its kind for defying Null's commands, the symbiote was found by Kree explorers who bonded it with a soldier named Telkar. They harnessed its shape-shifting abilities to infiltrate the Skull Armada, but Telkar eventually severed their connection and wiped the symbiote's memories to protect it from capture. After parting ways during a crash landing, the symbiote later bonded with an unnamed alien who used it to commit genocide against their own species, fueling the symbiote's addiction to rage. At some point, an arms dealer claimed to have captured the symbiote and enhanced its aggression and bloodlust through chemical alterations, although the symbiote itself has no recollection of these events. Then it later bonds to Spider-Man, and then you all know the rest. But yeah, I like the symbiotes. Venom is pretty dope. But again, he's literally from space. I don't know how he's a street level villain, but I guess most of his antics revolve around just being mad at Spider-Man, so I guess it makes sense. And finally, in at number 1, Street. This is the most street level villain that I can talk about because his name is literally Street. God. Henry Kramer was an employee at Industrico, a company working on an experimental asphalt polymer. Tragically, he fell into the mixer, becoming engulfed in the compound. The asphalt mutated his body, transforming him into a vengeful giant asphalt figure known as Street, terrorizing New York City. Street clashed with Spider-Man and the Human Torch, escaping their grasp by assimilating into the streets. However, he was crushed by the alien Goom and later defeated by the Fantastic Four. Reconstructing himself multiple times, Street continued his quest for revenge, only to be repeatedly crushed and defeated by these heroes. Each time he rebuilt himself though, Street faced the wrath of the Fantastic Four, who ultimately left him in pieces. Despite his determination, Street found himself constantly crushed and thwarted by the heroes, vowing revenge but unable to achieve it. But there you go, he is literally street level because he is literally the street. That's puns for you. Thanks for watching. Click the video that's popping up now. Yeah, there you go.